There has been a lot of hype for the upcoming Switch 2. With the release closing in pretty close at the time of this video, people are excited to grab the newest Nintendo console. But in this video, I want to talk about a different Nintendo console, one that has a very dedicated fan base even over a decade later. Of course, I'm talking about the Nintendo 3DS family, if you couldn't tell by the thumbnail and title of the video. Now, I did take a look at the 3DS last year, and I enjoyed it so much from the little playtime that I had that I actually purchased a separate Japanese new 2DS XL to play my DS library again into mod. So in this video, I want to revisit it and talk about whether or not the 3DS is still worth looking into in 2025, despite its age and the upcoming release of the Nintendo Switch 2. For those who don't even know what the Nintendo 3DS is, this family of consoles released over a decade ago as Nintendo's flagship handheld at the time, and had good success. I mean, at that time, the console was a big reason why Nintendo stayed afloat during the abysmal Wii U lifecycle. And as a result, there have been a healthy amount of titles that have released onto the platform, like Fire Emblem and Pokemon as notable examples. Now, the 3DS itself has a very unique design for a handheld even for today's standards, with its dual screen design offering a different way to play and interact with them. They also were the first ones, ironically, to introduce a mid-gen console refresh, with the new 3DS subfamily providing some upgrades in speed and some extra features. However, it has been discontinued for quite some time now and is basically obsolete for most modern gamers. That honestly kind of sucks, because playing on a 3DS feels completely different than almost any other handheld console on the market today. There are so many different ways developers have implemented that dual screen layout, from simply providing a minimap on the second screen to providing an extra, area to give extra information or reduce cramping in space on one screen. Fundamentally, you are still using the 3DS in a similar way to other handhelds, but the way you interact with the software is something that not a lot of alternatives can replicate. As I noted last year, it's not like you can't play these games elsewhere on other alternative and potentially more versatile options. There are a lot of retro handhelds and portable PCs that can easily play these 3DS games. Heck, even your modern mid-range smartphone for the most part is powerful enough to play them without much issue with the right emulators. However, they don't have that same experience with how the 3DS is laid out depending on the game. A good chunk of games actually utilize both screens in a very specific way that requires them to be oriented or stacked on top of another. And for most modern handhelds, that means you basically will be playing a vertical screen, kind of like a TikTok video, with a lot of empty space on the left and right. However, as much as I want to emphasize the unique experience playing on a system natively, there's nothing wrong with those alternatives as long as you have a good time with it. A lot of the most popular 3DS games, like the Pokemon games, don't actually utilize the screen in a way that requires that kind of like stacking vertical format. So at that point, it's really not much of an issue for the alternatives. So really, if your goal is to simply play the vast library of old 3DS games by any means possible, then to be honest with you, I would first look into those systems first because they can be had for cheaper potentially and offer more options for emulation with other consoles. There is one other major reason though why you may want to still consider a 3DS today. Despite Nintendo shutting down the eShop services and essentially all support for this console, one thing is definitely for certain. The fans have gracefully carried the torch. There have been countless community-driven projects that have released for the 3DS since its discontinuation, with even more to come. Projects like Luma 3DS providing easy access to community-made mods and tweaks, from things such as custom themes and unlocking region lock to play international exclusive games, to the Pretendo servers allowing the return of a fully online multiplayer for a lot of these old 3DS titles. Really, this is the big selling point of the 3DS today. And I think if nothing else, it's overall just really fun to tinker and mod. It's incredibly accessible with the guides available, and the process is mostly painless with a lot of tips. To be honest, buying a 3DS right now without some intention of installing some custom firmware is sort of a waste with how much stuff is going on in the community today, unless you absolutely want to be a purist for your experience and play the 3DS the way Nintendo intended you to. So overall, I think that still in the current day, the 3DS is very unique. From its foldable and compact design to its widely available and open community support, I think the system scratches a very special itch for those who want to buy it. If you are somewhat curious on the system, getting the base 3DS for a good price, I would say probably around $100 or so, would be absolutely worth the cost with how much you can do with it. But depending on how often and what you want out of the system, potentially you may be better off with a more versatile option through the portable emulators, as I noted before. So assess what you want out of your experience first before making a purchase, because either way you go, you could be paying more and more for extra games, accessories, and even the system itself, especially in today's market. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did, make sure to leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Later.